right, thank you, Faith. So first time speaking, or first time attending a meeting and speaking at it. That's pretty impressive. Thank you very much. So up next, the main event. Is anybody curious about CBD oil? Make some noise if you are, because
all right.
You know, I admit that I have been on both sides of this discussion kind of since the beginning, because I've always believed that whole plant medical marijuana is the way to go. You know, obviously I think we can all agree on that. But we also, I think, can agree that there are baby steps that our lawmakers are willing to take before we really get to where we want to be. And so I guess I was always struggling with the thought of only a partial bit of this plant being available to us. Kind of just pissed me off, I guess, fundamentally, because, you know, we deserve the whole plant. Would you agree?
Yeah.
But in thinking about it more and more, it kind of became clear to me that an obvious first step is giving people a little taste of it, right? Even if it's not exactly what we want, it's a step in the right direction. And so for me, it was always, well, who are these local companies? Because I wanted to work only with Texas companies. We're a DFW Norml organization. I want to work with Texas companies, period. And I wanted to find the Texas companies who were doing this. And we found them. And actually, they kind of found us in a way too, because we're that good at what we're doing that we attract what we're looking for in terms of talent and sponsors and businesses. And so I'd like to let each one of these fine gentlemen take a couple of minutes, 1 or 2 minutes please, to introduce themselves, kind of how they got into all of this, to give you a little bit of context on who these people are. They're not just businessmen sitting up here. And also talk a little bit about their company. And we're going to get more into the details about CBD and some of the products here as the panel goes on. But I just want to give some introductory comments real quick. So up first, Glenn from Honeybee. Justin there, Glenn from Honeybee.
Yeah, Justin's going to end up here. So.
Bring that mic a little closer.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
There we go.
My name's Glenn Reynolds with Honeybee Healthy Living. We started this journey about 2 years ago. We originally started looking at doing what Shaman was talking about. We wanted to do full plant extraction, so on and so forth, with THC, CBD, and everything. We were making trips to Colorado pretty frequently, talking to anything from growers to processing facilities, so on and so forth. And along the way, we established some relationships with some people that are very, very knowledgeable and very well educated. And one of the individuals kept telling us that, hey, we really need to take a look at hemp. Hemp was the way of the future. And at the time, since we were so focused on just your general THC and so on and so forth, it didn't make sense to us. We were trying to figure it out. And we had these long conversations going, well, how can we make hemp work for us? And the more we started looking at CBD, the more we started realizing that it wasn't just about the psychoactive effects, that there's a lot more people out there that need the health benefits of what cannabis has to offer than just having the psychoactive effects of it. And so the more we looked into it, the more we got it, and the more we started researching it, and then we started looking at the different types of farmers that are out there and who's doing what, and we visited some farms throughout Colorado. And we kind of locked in on a place. And so all of our product right now is coming out of Colorado. We've partnered up with a company that's in Colorado Springs that's a processing facility, and they work with the farmer. And it's a fantastic product. I know some of you guys have tried our product. Actually, quite a few of you guys have. We're a national company. We do a lot of business here in the state of Texas. We get calls almost on a daily basis from other states of people that somehow or other are like, hey man, we've heard about your guys' product, you know, the quality and everything. And the one thing that we'll always emphasize is going to be quality and customer service. That's the one. I say the one thing because to me there's no difference between the two. You got to have quality and you got to have customer service. And like Sean was saying, there's a lot of companies that are out there that want to come in, make a quick buck, and get out. And those are going to be your fly-by-night companies that are basically selling snake oil. So one of the things that we're hoping to accomplish here today, and as we continue to work with people and educate people, because that's part of our job as well, is to educate people of what good CBD is and what it's not, because there's more factors into it than just going, okay, well, hey, this bottle has 100 milligrams of CBD in it. All right, well, where'd that CBD come from exactly? What's the purity of that 100 milligrams of CBD? There's a lot of difference between 70% purity CBD and 25% purity CBD. And so those are all things that a lot of people don't know to ask the questions too. So some of these companies are out there just selling glorified hemp oil. It's not going to do anything for you at all. And then what happens is that the companies that are out there doing good, the people that they can actually help have had a tarnished experience because they've experienced a product that's not CBD. It's not a true CBD. So it's our job as good companies to make sure that we're out there educating people on what the questions to ask and how to ask those questions, and that there's more to it than just how many milligrams of CBD are in a particular product. So that's kind of a little bit about how we got started. We absolutely love what we do. This is the only job I've ever had in my entire life, and I've owned businesses since I was 15 years old, and I'm about 100 right now, so it's been a long time. It's the only business I've ever owned where whenever I go to bed at nighttime, I feel great every single day. It's amazing. We get probably 2 to 3 testimonials a day, and I will still always remember the very first testimonial. I had goosebumps on my arms. I called my parents crying, and I don't cry that much, but I was crying that day. And a lady that lives here in the DFW area, it was the first lady we ever sold anything to. She called me up, asked me to come over to her house. I went over there. I didn't know if I was going to get griped out or what, because it was our very first customer. And she held out her hand and she said, "You see my hand?" And I said, "Yeah." Didn't know exactly what I was looking at. And I said, "Yes, ma'am." And she said, "I've had major tremors since I was 11 years old." I think I didn't ask her age, but I think she's probably in her late 30s, early 40s. And she said, "I've had major tremors since I was 11 years old. I'm on disability. I can't even hold a fork." She goes, "My hand hadn't been that steady since I was 11 years old." And when I see, she said, "All right now." But I did. I left. I called all my partners. I called my parents. I was like, "Oh my God, this stuff really works." So it's been a crazy journey ever since then. And some of the testimonials we get nowadays are so extreme that you can't help but feel good about what you're doing every day. So anyways, that's our story.
Hey, thank you very much. Our second speaker today is Nathan Tamaro from CBD American Shaman, a company that kind of found us, set up at our Global Marijuana March, and I think we're probably going to be partners for a while after that. So please give Nathan a hand.
So we're not technically a Texas-based company. We are originated out of Kansas City, but I've been living in Plano, and I've opened up shop down here basically. So we are now in the early stages of our company, only being around for about a year and a half. It was the early part of 2015. So it's a fairly new company, and we're expanding. It's really phenomenal how Vince Sanders is the man who founded our company, and it was kind of one of those testimonials of living things where there's a need, and if somebody's determined enough, they're going to fill that need. It was a neighbor, I believe, coming down with some terminal cancer and just not accepting the allopathic ways, and unfortunately the man passed before the company was founded, and then a couple other people were brought in, and it was the same story. And then out of anger for my mom having stage 4 cancer and really not getting the remedy through allopathic care, I got on board with it. And so I think a lot of ours stems from the compassion, like I'm hearing about in the medicinal marijuana. It's the driving force of reaching people who have really no other way to go. And I think I see a big trend in the shift away from allopathic care. Not saying that it's all bad or anything, but just that it can be supplemented and a lot more affordable, and something that we should have been doing a long time ago. And what we have to do now is learn ourselves, and it's always about learning. I mean, just the fact that everybody thought THC was the way to go, and then CBD, and I think there's a lot more to learn still. And so as we're educating ourselves, now it's about awareness and spreading, that awareness to everybody, you guys today, and the people live, and it's going to keep on going. It is a movement, and it's not going to stop, and that's what I'm really proud about, is that I can help my family, my close ones, myself, and then the millions of other people that I expect that our companies are going to be touching. So it's a very heartfelt story. We can go into the live testimonials later too, but I think we all have a tearjerker story that's really driving us. So, but anyway, I'm glad to be at Texan now, 3 months in. So I think I have to exchange my "you guys" from northern Minnesota, where I'm originally from, and you might hear that, belong us to, what is it, a y'all? Y'all, howdy? No, we don't do howdy here.
Oh, we do howdy.
Oh, okay. I think we can have an Aggie and a Longhorn conversation later too. So yeah, that's all my story there. So.
All right, thanks very much. Let's give him a hand. So last but certainly not least, we have Carlos Frias from the Texas Wellness Center. This is another one of those companies that sought us out and quickly became a supporter, donating $1,000 to DFW Norml to make the Global Marijuana March happen. And I think we'll probably be working together for a while too, don't you think, Carlos? Yeah, so good.
Our story is, I was in the Marine Corps from 1999 till 2003. Me and my brother owned a collective in California. We're cannabis cultivators by trade. I'm from Texas, but moved to California to be in the Marine Corps. When I got out, spent the better part of 12, 13 years traveling back and forth from Texas to California, managing our collective that we had. Started experimenting with, cultivation on a very small scale, and very quickly found out that we had a knack for it. And in 2007, we officially started our collective in Port Hueneme, California. So we are cultivators by trade. We've been in the industry for a very long time. Managed to be successful in that quasi-legal, medical marijuana industry that exists in California. And so we've been cultivating and doing extraction in California for a while. When we moved back here, had a short-lived career in commercial real estate. Really, it just wasn't for me sitting behind a desk and wearing a suit and, trying to find a way to we've been preparing for legalization in Texas, so we're also applicants for Senate Bill 339 cultivation, processing, and dispensing licenses. We were looking for a way to get involved and kind of stumbled upon this through a friend, and started our company about 6 weeks ago. So we haven't, we're very, very, very young in this industry. I think the other guys kind of said it all as far as, I think everybody's mission is pretty much the same. We're trying to pave the way for, hemp by definition is a form of cannabis. So, make no mistake about it that these are cannabis oil extracted products in a legal form, because hemp is a member of the cannabis sativa L family. So we're just paving the way for the industry, trying to bring transparency to the industry. There's a lot of companies that aren't transparent, like Glenn was saying. From dosing on bottles to who's making their stuff and where they're importing their stuff from, and does it come from overseas? Are these markets even regulated? Who's growing the hemp? What kind of hemp is it? Is it really industrial hemp, or is it, as the Stanley brothers call it, medicinal hemp? So a lot of things that kind of play into the quality of the final product, but so that's pretty much our story. We're a young company, and we're kind of finding our footing, and trying to get in kind of where we're finding where we fit in, and but we bring a lot of experience to the table. We've been in the cannabis industry for a very long time, and we understand from the cultivation aspect, we understand extraction, we understand delivery of desired cannabinoids, formulation of products with oils. Hemp oil being, again, it is cannabis in one form, whether people want to accept that or not. So we've been familiar with cannabis extracts and formulating products out of cannabis extract. The only difference is the strengths of the levels of the different cannabinoids that we have to work with here in Texas, which is, obviously everybody knows it's hemp is 0.3% THC or less. So it's just a different strength of the oils, but that's pretty much our background and how we got into this industry.
All right. So, Carlos, since you got to go last, I'm going to give you the first question. Can you explain what is cannabidiol, what is CBD, and how does it compare to THC?
Cannabidiol is one of the 60 compounds found, naturally occurring compounds found in any plant that comes from the cannabis family. So, you know, the federal government defines hemp as any cannabis sativa L plant growing or not with a THC concentration of 0.3% or less. So these varieties that are grown as hemp, whether overseas or domestically, are, and really I would say domestically the varieties that are grown are more CBD-rich varieties. Overseas are more industrial varieties. But so cannabidiol is the, I'm not going to say it's the most medicinal compound of the plant because some would argue that THC has just as much medicinal value. THC just has a bad rap in society because cannabis has been demonized by our government for the past, I don't know, since the 40s or 50s. I mean, cannabis used to be legal, was used as medicine. So I think all compounds of any cannabis plant, whether hemp, cannabis sativa, indica, ruderalis, whatever you're talking, I mean, they all have medicinal benefit, but CBD in particular, you know, has gotten the most attention, I think, because it's the non-psychoactive compound. So CBD cannabidiol is non-psychoactive. It, you know, because of FDA guidelines, I can't sit up here and tell you that it cures this or cures this or cures that. But I will say that people have found relief in a lot of different ways by using products that have high concentrations of CBD. So we're talking, once again, not necessarily from any of our products, but testimonies are out there that people, you know, it helps with arthritis, helps with inflammation, helps with, I mean, Rick Simpson has claimed that, you know, cannabis oil cured cancer. I don't know how, I'm not going to stand behind that statement because I don't want to get in trouble with the FDA, but studies are out there. I mean, you guys kind of have to, we can't tell you what CBD cures because, you know, we'll be indicted by the federal government. So I would tell you to do your own research on what CBD is good for. But cannabidiol just, as of recently, has gotten the most attention for being the most medicinal compound of the plant. I would argue that fact, but I will say it's a very medicinal compound, but THC has its own medicinal properties. It's just THC is psychoactive and CBD is not. Now, I will say that CBD is not psychoactive, but there are parts of cannabidiol that, when activated at certain heat levels, become slightly psychoactive. So I feel like it's kind of a moot point that people, oh, it's non-psychoactive. Okay, yeah, you're right. That's technically that's the right, you know, definition of CBD. But when you heat it, CBD turns into CBN, CBG, and CBN has been found to have slight psychoactive properties. So it's just the most, I would say, society-friendly compound found in any cannabis plant that has great, you know, so I've heard, medicinal benefits. And I would suggest that everybody do their own research as to what, I mean, it blows us away. You know, we as we're you know, thinking of new products to formulate, you know, we're launching a complete skincare line. You know, shampoos, conditioners, facial scrubs, body wraps, acne cream, and it blows our mind every time we do research. Like, wow, I didn't know that CBD, in theory, or I was told, you know, that CBD does A, B, or C, or D. It's just mind blowing every day, the things that people are, the studies that are coming out, and all the benefits that CBD has. So I hope I answered that question.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
All I wanted to say real quick is that he brings up a good point. I don't think you're going to have any three of us. I think the FDA probably would have thought I stepped over the line telling you the story I told you earlier, but you're not going to have any of the three of us that are actually going to sit there and say that it absolutely does this or it absolutely does that. We're all going to tell you the same thing. Hey, you need to do your research. You need to. I will tell you that you might want to take a look at some of the research that comes out of Israel. Israel has done a huge amount of research on medical marijuana in general, and the United States does not recognize that research because it does not come out of the United States. But whenever you look at companies and you're trying to figure out if it's a legitimate company or not a legitimate company, this is why I want to kind of expand on what Carlos was saying, is that if you have a company that's out there making a lot of claims and stuff, 9 times out of 10, that's not going to be a legitimate company. You know, the ones that are out there that are telling you to do your own research and stuff like that, 9 times out of 10, that's going to be a legitimate company. So if you want a litmus test as far as like a company that's a good company to work with and not a good company to work with, that's on the surface a pretty good litmus test right there.
Nathan, would you like to add anything to the original question comparing CBD to THC?
No, I think you guys covered a lot, except where I can add on to, Glenn's exactly right, and Vince, the founder, and he's doing 25 hours a day research on this stuff. He's talking with doctors all over the world, and unfortunately our government is a little bit behind because of limitations of doing the studies on the humans with, we're going to do all of our testimonials off of, it's been animal tested and we have anecdotal evidence. But there's all of these other countries all over the planet that are being funded by their government, and we don't want to listen to them. Well, we want to, and we want to share that information with you, but we're not going to speak as the truth. But yes, Dr. Meshulam out of Tel Aviv in Israel is somebody that I think you should all do some research on, and I don't think that we can do enough research about that doctor. And also out of Madrid, Spain is coming some really good information. Dr. Guzman, working with Dr. Sanchez out of the Guzman Cannabinoid Research Institute. It's funded by its own government, so there's a lot of good information coming from those two. And I'll probably come back to those guys in a little bit later. But as far as all that's going, no, well done. Yeah.
All right.
Meshulam, M-E-S-C-H-O-U-L-A-M.
I'm sorry, one more time.
M-E-S-C-H-O-U-L-A-M. Guzman, Dr. Guzman out of Madrid, Spain. Guzman, G-U-Z-M-A-N. I'll be honest, I guessed at that one too.
Thanks for looking.
Yeah, and this will be recorded. It's being recorded right now on YouTube and right there in HD. So we'll have a couple of versions so everybody can always come back to all this info. So the next question, I'll go ahead and stick with you, Nathan. Can you tell us some of the differences, like some of the major differences, I guess, between CBD oil from hemp versus the CBD oil from cannabis?
So we have, I think, what do you call semantics, and we probably would all agree on this one. It's kind of a trick question. Cannabis, so it's all cannabis. Sativa, cannabis sativa. So you have like the citrus family, then you have grapefruits and oranges. So you have cannabis, and then you have what we would nickname as marijuana because it has higher THC levels, and then we have hemp, which is lower THC levels. So we're just going to go with, I guess, I'm guessing what we're referring to is hemp oil and oil from the cannabis plant that has higher than 0.3% THC. And what Carlos said earlier, there are studies that are showing that there are some really good benefits to having higher doses of THC within your oils, but they have to stay within those states that it's considered legal. So what do? We do the best we can with what we have, and our extraction processes can basically, due to decarboxylation, we're gonna just heat it up and mix them, because all you have to do is add heat to the THCA, and it's going to then become THC. So you can, by adding so much heat, you're going to make it higher doses of THC. So we keep it low, and you get lower doses of THC. Hemp plants naturally have that anyway, so we don't have to really worry about that when we're getting our oil in. And we are a company that does get our hemp from overseas. We get ours from Norway. So I guess I might as well address that real quick. Not all companies, but like Glenn was saying, there are some, but there's still a lot of debate, I think, surrounding the legitimacy of the amounts of CBD that are considered that really effective balance point of where people are getting their optimal benefits, or at least anecdotally stating getting their benefits. So a hemp plant, so Norway, it's been growing there for thousands of years untouched. We haven't had to cross-pollinate it or hybrid, it's not hybridized. It's just been cultivated for the last couple hundred years, organically, non-GMO, no pesticides, insecticides, and we get it, and it's just the way, I guess, God intended it to be. And I think a lot of what we're focusing on is getting live foods, untouched, more natural, closer to that. And that's a lot of what our philosophy would really like, but we also have to then tweak it. So hemp oil, I guess, to get back to the question, you can tweak both of them, hemp oil and higher THC oil, in the processing of it through the extraction process. But the difference between the two, I mean, really the benefits are still anecdotal. I mean, there's really no studies on there in the United States that I can refer to. I can give you live testimonials of what somebody with stage 4 cancer is doing when we have a 750 milligram blend, and after 3 days of doing it, this person being completely lethargic for about 2 to 3 weeks and getting blood clots in their lungs because they're not moving, and the doctor's worried about this person. 3 days of taking a dropper a day, so only 50 milligrams of CBD got this person off the couch and working for the first time in over a month and a half. And that's my motivational factor. So the CBD oil from the hemp oil is effective in giving people benefits that they're noticing personally without changing their diet any other way. But I can't tell you what's going on internally in their body. Every person's body is different. Every person has a depleted level that's different from somebody else. I mean, if you have 100%, because your body is making cannabinoids. When you bring in a cannabinoid from a marijuana plant, you bring it into your system, and depending on how depleted you are, is how much you're going to receive the benefits. If you want maximum benefits, go to Colorado. You know, if you want, and do 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams a day. You know, there's some really cool stories come out, and everybody's probably heard a lot of them. But if you're here in Texas, you're going to get one of these guys' products, and you're still going to see some people that are going to have some amazing stories to share. So the difference between them, I guess, is all legally. Other than that, it's kind of like apples and oranges anyway.
Yeah, okay, great. Glenn, if you want to,
Yeah.
Glenn, you're sitting like you want to expand on that. Carlos, too, I'll give you an option.
I'm always doing that. No, I mean, the only thing that I'll say is that, like Carlos was saying earlier, it's the same exact plant. You've got, cannabis is cannabis. It's a cannabis sativa ruderalis is what it is. You can get cannabis sativa that's got, depending on some of the stuff coming out of Colorado nowadays, 20% THC. But the way that the courts actually look at what the classification of hemp is that it's the same exact cannabis plant that grows the higher THC. It's just that the only differentiating factor is that the way that the courts look at it. And it has to be a cannabis sativa plant that produces less than 0.3% THC naturally. And that's the only absolute difference. So if you ever have anybody say, well, yeah, one's a, I can go over to Colorado and I get something better because it comes from a real marijuana plant. Hemp's a real marijuana plant, it just has naturally produced and it has to be less than 0.3% THC. It's the same exact thing. So there is absolutely no difference between a marijuana plant, a cannabis plant, and a hemp plant. It's all the same thing. It's just a matter of semantics in terms of what each of those plants produce in terms of THC. That's what it comes down to.
Carlos, you have?
Yeah, I mean, structurally speaking, if we're going to get down to the scientific definition, right? On a molecular level, it's the exact same thing. The only difference is the THC concentration. That is it, because hemp is cannabis, cannabis indica is cannabis, cannabis sativa is cannabis, cannabis ruderalis is cannabis, and I think they just defined one more, cannabis afghanica is, it's all